All right. Yeah, this is going to take a minute. So settle in because if you zoom out far enough, what you're watching right now isn't chaos. It's physics, systems behavior, um, feedback loops collapsing after years of being ignored. I keep thinking about that image again. The replica Statue of Liberty in Guaíba, Brazil. Not in a civic square, not in front of a courthouse, in a McDonald's parking lot. Plastic symbolism bolted together for vibes. And then the wind hits, not even a hurricane, just sustained stress. And the whole thing snaps and slams into the ground. That's how collapse actually works. Not with one dramatic punch, but with accumulated weaknesses finally meeting reality. And yeah, that's America right now. You can feel it even in the way Donald Trump communicates. He posts a dumpster fire labeled 2020, like he's pointing backward, trying to externalize blame. But here's the problem. Engineers know this. You don't fix a system by lying about which version failed. If 2020 was bad, and then 2025 is catastrophic, we're talking cascading failure across institutions, governance, information, trust. Polling isn't subjective anymore. It's not vibes. Gallup, Pew, Reuters, even conservative-leaning aggregates all show the same thing. Trump's approval has sunk below anything recorded in the modern presidency, below Nixon during Watergate, below Bush at the peak of Iraq. This is unprecedented. And it's not because people suddenly became woke. It's because reality finally overwhelmed the narrative. And when narratives collapse, people lash out. That's why what Trump did with Rob Reiner matters so much. Hours after Reiner and his wife, Michelle, were brutally murdered, allegedly by their own son struggling with addiction, Trump used the moment to attack them. No pause, no empathy, no restraint. That's not strategy. That's impulse. It's what happens when someone's internal filters are gone. Psychologically, this is textbook. Loss of power increases cruelty. There's research on this. Stanford, Harvard. Behavioral studies show that when dominant figures feel control slipping, they escalate aggression to reassert relevance, not strength, relevance. And while that moment rightly horrified people, there's another layer that didn't get enough attention. It exposed how hollow the entire Trump ecosystem has become. No one stopped him. No one intervened. No one said, maybe not today. That silence is structural rot. And then you look at what else is happening quietly in the background. Jared Kushner's Serbia project collapsing is not just a failed real estate deal. It's a case study in international corruption finally hitting friction. A Trump-branded luxury hotel planned on a NATO-bombed site in Belgrade. Bloomberg documents 2 years of stalled development, opaque financing, political interference, and finally the arrest of a Serbian cabinet official tied to the project. The glossy renderings versus the actual construction photos look like satire, but it's real. This matters because Trumpism has always depended on the illusion of success. Towers, names, logos. When the physical manifestations fail, the myth weakens. You can't spin a half-built ruin. And then there's Pete Hegseth. This is where things get genuinely dangerous. A former Fox host calling himself Secretary of War is already absurd. But bragging publicly about killing 8 people in boats in the Eastern Pacific crosses into something else entirely. the language matters. We eliminated no trial, no transparency, no confirmation of threat, just death. Matt Novak's framing is correct and uncomfortable. When we say we committed war crimes, people push back emotionally, but grammatically and legally, it's accurate. These actions are done by state actors funded by taxpayers. International law doesn't care about your cable news talking points. And when leaders normalize that language, they normalize atrocity. Now ask yourself this. If this is what they're comfortable saying out loud, what's happening off camera? The answer starts to emerge when you look domestically. ICE and Border Patrol operations over the past year show a sharp escalation in force. Not arrests. Force, video evidence, court filings, ACLU reports, Human Rights Watch investigations. This isn't fringe. This is documented in Amherst, New York. A homeowner films what appears to be a joint ICE FBI raid on a roofing crew, construction workers, during a housing shortage. A worker tackled, guns drawn, no warrant presented on camera. This isn't about public safety. It's theater, fear theater. Then South Minneapolis, a pregnant woman forced face down into snow, knees on her back.
We made our way to the center of the crowd and found a woman being held face down on the ground. People were screaming to let her go.
We kept yelling, she's pregnant, she's pregnant, she's pregnant. They put their knees in her and we kept telling them, she can't breathe, let her up, let her up.
In the chaos, the woman who was handcuffed was suddenly being dragged by one arm as the angry crowd threw snowballs and screamed at the federal agents.
And here's the thing people miss. Authoritarian systems don't start with camps. They start with normalization, each incident framed as necessary, each outrage compartmentalized until cruelty becomes background noise. Which brings us to Trump's email. I read it carefully because it's revealing, not politically, psychologically. I'm alone in the dark. One dying laptop. Urgent midnight deadline. Give me $47. This is not leadership communication. This is cult maintenance. Scholars of extremism describe this exact language. Isolation narrative. Persecution complex. Urgency. Sacrifice. Reward token. Red MAGA hat ornament. It's not even sophisticated anymore. It's desperate. And desperation is dangerous when combined with power. While that email was going out, new audio surfaced of a near midair collision between a JetBlue flight and a U.S. military aircraft over the Caribbean.
There's new audio in this morning after a crazy near midair collision. A JetBlue flight leaving the small Caribbean nation of Curacao en route to New York had to abruptly stop its ascent to avoid colliding with a U.S. Air Force plane. The JetBlue pilot spoke to air traffic control basically as this played out. Just listen to this.
We almost had a mid-air collision up here. Traffic passed directly in front of us within 5 miles of us.
This isn't just incompetence. It's disregard. And then Mar-a-Lago, while healthcare access is being cut, while inflation pressures working families, while people are being detained and brutalized. Mar-a-Lago is auctioning off luxury handbags worth thousands of dollars. Optics matter. Always have. Marie Antoinette became a symbol not because of policy, but because of disconnect.
The gentlemen, only one of two in existence, lining of luxurious micro suede, proudly made in the USA.
This is worse. It's performative indifference. And then you get the surreal moment of Tony Holt Kramer, early Trump loyalist, telling people maybe we should stop talking about politics and instead discuss older women dating younger men.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Holt Kramer, founder, president of Trumpets USA, but not going to talk to you about politics. I think we all need a change, something new. How about talking about the new rage, which is mature women with younger men?
That's not a pivot. That's dissociation. It's what happens when the narrative collapses and no replacement exists. Meanwhile, reality doesn't pause. Europe is preparing for large-scale war. This isn't hyperbole. The UK's Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton stated publicly that the security situation is more dangerous than at any point in his career. Russia's military is battle-hardened. Germany is expanding defense production capacity. France is updating civil defense planning. NATO documents confirm increased readiness postures. Families being told to prepare infrastructure resilience, industrial mobilization. These are not talking points. These are war indicators. And while that's happening back in the US, Brown University mass shooting leaves 2 students dead. The FBI director, Kash Patel, is not seen coordinating the manhunt publicly. Instead, he appears on a podcast discussing personal relationships, hosted by the spouse of a White House official.
We are so excited to be joined by Kash and his beautiful girlfriend, Alexis. So I just want to clarify, you're not Jewish.
I'm not.
You're not from Israel.
No.
So how did we get to, are you a Mossad agent?
You know, that's a great question.
Where's her ring? Just to clarify, how often has he traveled to see you since January 20th? Has there been one moment where you're like, you can't make this up?
That's not optics. That's abdication. And Lindsey Graham blaming Biden and Obama for terror attacks.
Obama and Biden have a lot to do with this. I blame the terrorist, but Obama allowed ISIS to come about when he withdrew from Iraq. Trump destroyed the caliphate, killed Soleimani, and got out of the Iran nuclear deal. And the dumbass Biden, the biggest dumbass on the planet, withdrew from Afghanistan, obliterated our borders, and rejoined the Iran nuclear agreement, making the Ayatollah flush with cash. And you're wondering what we're dealing with. Trump had him in a box. He killed Soleimani, the chief architect of terrorism in Iran. He destroyed the caliphate. He had him in a box. We had the Abraham Accords where people were recognizing Israel, and dumbass Biden comes along and tears it all up. And now we're fighting these bastards again.
The same Lindsey Graham who once praised Biden's character.
If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation.
This whiplash isn't hypocrisy. It's opportunism. Memory erasure is strategy. When systems break, truth becomes inconvenient. So when people ask, why does it feel like everything is falling apart at once? The answer is simple. Because it is, but not randomly. Years of degraded institutions, media ecosystems optimized for outrage instead of accuracy, political movements built on personality rather than competence, international alliances strained by transactional thinking, domestic enforcement militarized without accountability. If you care about reality, about competence, about not flying blind into the future, stay engaged, share information, support independent voices, ask better questions, because pretending the wreckage is leadership. That's how you guarantee the crash.